We have signed a number of intergovernmental agreements with countries, also South Africa, cooperation, agreement of strategic cooperation. We signed two intergovernmental agreements with Nigeria about construction of nuclear power plant, and today, as it was announced, we have signed an intergovernmental agreement about construction of a research reactor. We also have signed an intergovernmental agreement with Kenya and some other countries.
Now, once you start building in the various African countries, building a nuclear power plant, what measures are you going to put into place to ensure that you don't get these cost escalations that are associated with mega projects?
You need to invest some money in these projects, but you shall not invest all the money immediately. But it's very effective investment because the costs of nuclear power is very cheap if you compare it with other sources like coal, gas, etc. And it's stable.
Now, in appreciating the various fiscal situations that African nations are in, as you make deals with them, what sort of financial model options are you going to be giving them so that they're not overwhelmed?
With using different financial models, but to say what model is the best for South African countries or African countries, I cannot give you the general answer because this is the subject for detailed discussion with a particular country. Depends on the interests of the country, depends on the current political, economical situation, depends on the projects which are developing in the countries, because maybe if you have big projects, infrastructure projects or industrial projects or mining projects which requiring a lot of money, you can find some partners, some investors who can participate. And if those projects need a lot of electricity, we can find different partners. And usually it's the question for discussion with a particular country, and depends on the circumstances in each.
We're from the South African Broadcasting Corporation, and our viewers are South Africans. We're all very interested to know when we are going to begin our nuclear energy program. We wanted to get a sense from you as to whether you've been given timelines as to when a decision will be taken about when we're going to start the process.
That we are ready and we will act according to the time schedule. For sure, we have some ideas about possible period which needed for such projects, but based on our experience. But it's the will and decision of the customer how to organize it. But I can say that if the timeline would be reasonable and realistic, we would be ready and we would be on time.
Now, Mr. Drozdov, the issue of skills transfer is really important. You've got these constructs that you're going to be building which have to last for 60 years and be taken care of beyond those 60 years as well. So what sort of skills transfer issues have you got in place for the African countries that you're going to be working in?
We're proposing the whole complex of integrated services and programs related to the new build construction, including not only construction on the nuclear power plant and supplying of nuclear fuel for whole life cycle. We are proposing development of nuclear infrastructure, development of legislation, support with the development of nuclear regulator, etc. And what is possible for vendor, because sometimes, for example, for nuclear infrastructure, it's better that nuclear regulators of the countries can cooperate together, but we are not nuclear regulator and we can limited influence on it, or don't have any influence at all. But some programs from the vendor side we can support.
St. Louis Federal Reserve President James Bullard says that global markets appear to be well prepared for an interest rate hike by the U.S. Central Bank, but he hasn't specified a date for the policy move. The Fed raised interest rates in December last year, which was the first rate hike in nearly a decade.
My sense is that markets are well prepared for a possible rate increase globally, and that this is not too surprising given our liftoff in December and the policy of the committee, which has been to try to normalize rates slowly and gradually.